Hi, this is Chougule, and I'm here at Stanford Law School. And I want to do a video today on why it feels so hard to get accurate, reliable, helpful information when it comes to applying to law school. Now, I remember I had decided sort of sometime in high school that I wanted to go to a top law school. And really beginning at that point, I just sort of looked for all the information I could find on law school admissions and getting into law school. And I remember always just finding it difficult to find information that was actually helpful. And now that I'm sort of starting as a admissions consultant, I've sort of taken another run and really tried to figure out if the quality of information has gotten any better. And the truth of the matter is that it really hasn't, and it remains quite difficult. Now why is that? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I think the reason why it might feel so hard is because, in a sense, sort of how to get into law school, a top law school is somewhat straightforward. I mean, you need a good LSAT score, a good GPA, good letters of recommendation, and sort of an interesting profile. I mean, that much is clear. But the hard part, obviously, is in the details and in the weeds and understanding the nuances, and then obviously taking all this information and applying it in your own situation and turning it into an action plan. Now, the reason I think it's so hard to really find sort of quality information beyond the surface level, I think there are a couple of reasons. So, I think one is that it's sort of in the nature of this admissions process that there are certain groups of people who know some part of the admissions process. So, but those who do have this information, they don't necessarily have either the ability or the incentive or the interest to really share it. So what do I mean by that? So one category of people who obviously know about the admissions process are the admissions directors and the people who work in these offices themselves. The problem with relying only on their information, however, is a couple things. So one is that at the end of the day, they're representatives of an institution, and so if you're the director of admissions at a top law school, one, you're just not really at liberty to talk about a lot of these things, and then two, let's face it, a lot of the branding and marketing and reputation of these top law schools is tied to their admissions process, to how selective it is, and the perception that it's very difficult to get into these places. So that's one category of people. The other is the people who have gone through the process themselves, and who have navigated it successfully. Now, the difficulty there is that one of the things that you find if you spend enough time looking at high performance generally is that the people who are really good at something, ironically enough, are often quite bad at actually understanding why they're good at it. So you can read about this, for example, in books by people like Tony Schwartz or Malcolm Gladwell, Anders Ericsson, people like that, and they look at like top tennis players or chess players or whatever, and obviously these are people who just reach the very top of whatever they're doing. But if you actually talk to them and try to figure out why they're so good, they themselves don't know. And so when if you talk to someone, let's say, who got into Harvard, Yale, and Stanford Law School, and you try to ask them, how did you do it? How did you get in? Or what advice can you give? And they give you an answer that's sort of unsatisfactory. A big part of the reason might actually be that they themselves don't really know. Another category of people is people who write about the admissions process and so forth. And here, I think, as you found, the quality of the advice can be mixed. Some of it can be very good, some of it can be very bad. So I certainly encourage you to read all of it and consume all of it, but look at it with a critical eye. Now, a big challenge here with all of these categories is that when you're really looking at the law school admissions process, there are a lot of political and cultural sensitivities that people just are reluctant to talk about, even if they're attuned to these. And what I mean by this is that the things that really lead you to be successful in American society are things that we sort of, as a culture, are considered to be kind of uncouth or politically incorrect. And you obviously see that in spades when you look at the debates over affirmative action, representation, and so forth. A good book on this, incidentally, is by Amy Chougule and Jed Rubenfeld, who are both well-known professors at Yale Law School. If you're applying to Yale Law School, actually, that they may even be the ones reading your application. And they talk about why certain groups in America succeed and why certain groups don't succeed. And they delve into a lot of the political sensitivities around that. And so, even if, and so when you really dig into these people who are doing well and getting into top law schools, you have to talk about a lot of things that we as Americans just find to be uncomfortable. So why do some people spend their weekends in the evening in the library and others don't? Why do some people seem to have sort of the intellectual gifts that it takes to really succeed at law school admissions, and other people struggle with it? So there are a lot of sensitivities here. Now, how do you deal with this? I mean, as you're applying to law school, how do you get the right information, get reliable information, and make sure that you have all the knowledge you need to be successful? And I think obviously, you want to do as much reading as you can. You want to look at what people are saying out there and read every book and article and so forth. I think you want to talk to as many people as you can who have gone through the process and done so successfully. I think you want to sort of see what these admissions directors and so forth have to say and try to read between the lines and sort of get a sense. But the net effect is there's a word in German, and I actually don't know what it is, but it sort of translates roughly to a fingertip feel. And I guess the goal here is to sort of absorb so much information, be around the process, be around the kind of people who have gotten into these schools, and really just observe keenly. And over time, I think you'll develop this fingertip feel that you'll just kind of have an innate or intuitive sense of what's really going on here in the admissions process. Why, what are some of the commonalities and the common traits of people who tend to do well in the college, in the law school admissions process, and this is something that it'll take some time to get. I mean, you'll have to spend at least a few months, but ideally a few years, going through this process. But at the end of the day, you'll be able to see. You'll just get this fingertip feel for how the whole process works. So hope that helps, and I'll talk to you soon.